Hello and welcome to Panegyric, your online destination for the intellectual.
We start our exploration by looking at one of history's most distinctive, if not finest, minds. He was a statesman, lawyer, and at that an inventor, but is most remembered as a writer. Let us study the life of Michel-de-Montaigne. Montaigne was a 16th century humanist, part of a movement that both spurred the Reformation and sustained the Renaissance. He wrote letters to many distinguished luminaries of the time, and his staff kept a travel journal,
Recording his ventures to many different localities.
and paying special attention to their laws. However, he is most famed for his discourses on a variety of contemporary and classical topics. Little did he know that he would create a new form of prose, one seemingly ubiquitous in conventional education. This is the essay. I am stood today outside of Montaigne's tower, perhaps the origin of the widespread phrase, ivory tower.
This was the intellectual lodestar of the man's work.
On his 38th birthday, Montaigne, weary of public service, decided to retire to this tower and to start writing. He did so as a means of self-knowledge, seeking leisure amidst a turbulent time. Here is a Latin inscription of the words that he wrote saying this.
While the wars of the Reformation raged in the vicinity, Montaigne, like many wise men in similar predicaments throughout the ages, resolved to devote himself to scholarship. The library, nowadays depleted, had a plethora of Greco-Roman and more recent authors, and Montaigne used the books in his intellectual endeavours.
Much of the essays contains quotations from the greats, and it is likely that he took inspiration from those painted on the ceiling of his library here. What motivated the man to start writing then?
The political climate was a significant incentive, but Montaigne had ample opportunity and time as an aristocrat to pen his ideas on paper before.
The reasons were primarily of a personal nature, connected to a wish for legacy and a longing for friendship.
As mentioned, Montaigne starts the essays by saying that more than half his life had passed.
And epigrammatically states that the essays are meant to be a posthumous memento of his personality. More importantly, Montaigne missed intellectually fulfilling conversation.
The great relationship of Montaigne's life was neither familial nor romantic. It was a deep friendship with another thinker named Etienne de la Boétie. De la Boétie was part of the academic scene, but suffered an early demise. Montaigne and he both functioned as intellectual sparring partners and engaged in public service, having discussions on a great many scholarly topics. With de la Boétie's death, Montaigne felt lonely and needed an output for his cogitations. The thinker channeled the love for his friend into his writing. Perhaps this view supplies the most genuine meaning behind the phrase he once inscribed, in lieu of vanity or playfulness. I myself am the matter of my book. So much for the man's output and his setting. What are the themes of Montaigne's work?
For what did this immensely agreeable and reasonable man stand? He was neither fanatical nor pathetic in his works, while eschewing the superfluous. There is enough substance in his oeuvre to class it as more than just rhetoric.
A good foundation for this endeavour is the relativism inherent in his works. Montaigne freely contradicts himself many times in his essays, manifestly seeking to be discursive rather than to argue persuasively. Although the conflict between Protestantism and Catholicism gave him much reason to be careful in his utterances and beliefs, the lack of hesitation with which he wrote suggests the opposite. Montaigne seems to enjoy veering from one perspective to the next, but with a logic that prevents his work from being belletristic. Montaigne admits to being genuinely unknowledgeable about a great many things. Indeed, a key phrase of the book is the serious question, "What do I know?" There is a humble uncertainty pervading his work, and the inquiries he pursues are never fully answered, but illuminated significantly. It is this style and substance of writing that makes many class Montaigne as a skeptic, one who consistently examines commonly and firmly held beliefs. Perhaps the courtly subtlety with which Montaigne posed his doubts secured his safety amidst widespread upheaval and guaranteed the longevity of his work.
It is quite telling that the Enlightenment, with its reverence of reason and the scientific method, stemmed from France and other francophone polities, rather than the affluent Mediterranean and the future industrial powerhouses of Northern Europe.
Michel de Montaigne, through honouring present hegemons and traditions, whilst criticising bygone ones, set the precedent for a measured culture of learning and thought.
This arguably culminated nearly 2 centuries later in the works of Rousseau and Voltaire,
and set the stage for dramatic civic disruption across the continent. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. We shall continue our ventures into the humanities next week with another historical personage.